Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. There's a question: how do I consistently connect to the Quran? How do I consistently connect to the Quran?
La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah.
May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us the people of the Quran. Our beloved Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam tells us that Inna lillahi ahlina minan nas. Truly Allah has elect from amongst His servants. And the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam tells us, Wa ahlul Quran hum ahlullahi wa khasatuhu fi ardih. And the people of Quran are the people of Allah and His most chosen in creation. The people of Quran. So everything begins with purpose. Everything begins with purpose. That why do we want to connect with the Quran? Because it is hablullah al-mateen. It is a rope of Allah that is unbreakable. As the Prophet ﷺ tells us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah Most High tells us in the Quran, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا, that hold fast to the rope of Allah, all of you. And what is the rope of Allah? There's many interpretations, the most powerful of which, it's the Quran. Right? So we need to understand that what is the Quran? The Quran is the divine speech addressing us to come to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is guidance. What is guidance? The guidance isn't just a set of rulings. Do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. It's not just a set of stories. Guidance is a call from the Creator to His creation to come to Him, to attain His eternal paradise, to avoid perdition, eternal loss, to attain the stations of reward in paradise, to attain the ranks of those pleasing and beloved to Him, to reach the stations of closeness of the foremost servants of God. وَالسَّابِقُونَ السَّابِقُونَ أُولَٰئِكَ الْمُقَرَّبُونَ. The very foremost of Allah's creation, they're the ones who are brought close. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in Surah Al-Waqi'ah. How do we cultivate that God awareness? By connecting regularly to the Quran. Every time I open the Quran, I recite it. Every time I listen to it, I should do so with this renewed sense. Each time we make ourselves renew our sense that this is my point. This is one of my key points of connecting with Allah, with my existential purpose. And the Prophet ﷺ tells us, يُقَالُ لِصَاحِبِ الْقُرْآنِ, the person of Quran will be told, اقرأ warqa, recite and rise. فَإِنَّ مَنْزِلَتَكَ, because your station with Allah, عند آخر آية تقرأ, will be with the last verse you recited. So every verse of Quran you recite is a rising with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as Allah and His Messenger have told us. So what do you need to do? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if he did anything, he made it a regular routine. So you begin with purpose. Secondly, set a realistic routine. So make a commitment of how you're going to recite the Quran daily. And you begin with a small amount of daily recitation. If you don't have a routine, begin with something that is easy to do. Whether by number of minutes, I'll read 5 minutes of Quran. That alone will give you 30 hours of Quran recitation in a year. 30 hours. If you do 17 minutes a day of Quran, you'll have recited 100 hours of Quran every year. So set something either by time or by number of pages. Maybe begin with 1 page, then add a second. The ulama tell us, because of various texts and indications of the Quran, like in the story of Sayyidina Musa, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to the 40 nights of devotion, that if you make something a regular habit for 40 days, it will become a well-established habit. So take on a small habit, and every time you begin, renew your intention. Why am I doing this? and focus on one habit at a time. Sometimes you say, okay, I want to recite Quran, and I want to do these adhkar, and I want to start doing extra sunnah prayers, and this and that, and none of it comes to pass. Set a clear purpose, commit to one key good religious habit, reciting Quran. The purpose should be clear. Every time you begin, renew your intention and stick to it. Set a time for it. If you're not able to do it at that time, set another time the same day, but don't miss your habit. Sayyidah Aisha relates that the Prophet ﷺ, if he did not manage to fulfill anything of his night routine of worship, he used to, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, make it up in the beginning of the morning. So if there's some Quran recitation or some rak'ahs of prayer that for some circumstance he wasn't able to do at night, he'd do them next morning. And that's the importance of maintaining your routines. Why? To fulfill the purpose that you set out with. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us of those who establish that connection. One of the things that make the connection with the Quran possible in our lives, learn tajweed, learn proper recitation. Because if you do something well, it becomes more meaningful and therefore more sustainable. And strive to learn Quran with people who have expertise in the Quran, but also people who have good character. Because that way you will be inspired, not just by studying with them, but also by their example. You'll be inspired also by their example. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us to connect regularly to the Quran. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.
لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله